and welcome to this interview with Volker Huppert, Chief Development Officer at Glycostem Therapeutics. Thank you for joining me today, Volker. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. And thanks for the opportunity to talk.
Of course, we're glad to have you. We'll get straight into it. So, as a leading NK cell therapy company, I'm excited to hear more about your product pipeline. Could you give us an overview of what you're currently working on?
So we have mainly two platforms that we have under development. Oncourt is our lead product candidate that is stem cell derived NK cells. This is in clinical trials, in clinical evaluation, entered a phase 1/2a clinical trial and now recruiting. The second platform is moving forward into genetically modified cells. So the VVenc platform is then using viral vectors to modify the stem cells to grow them into CAR NK cells or TCR NK cells rather than NK cells. And this is in an earlier research and development phase where we're just entering the process development phase, having seen some very promising functional data that ensures us that we should move forward.
That's great. Thank you for giving us that insight. Could you tell us what are some of the main hurdles that you're working to overcome to advance the development of your therapies?
In principle, I see three blocks. So patient recruitment, that is a topic for every clinical trial, especially for cell therapies where the effort is higher. So that is something that we are facing, speed of recruitment. That is solvable mainly with good networking with clinical partners. One big topic in principle for European companies is funding for the needs of really clinical development. That seems to be different for non-European companies. So US, China seems to be in a better position to make that happen. And in principle, all cell therapies require scaling efforts to be addressed early on, so that a cell therapy product is not something that you use in a phase 1, phase 2 trial, but also are able to provide that to many hundreds, thousands of patients a couple of years later. That requires a lead time, and that is one of our points of attention.
Of course, and as you mentioned, Glycostem, you give a significant focus to ensuring solid, scalable manufacturing concepts early on. What made you take this approach, and how has this been beneficial to your clinical trial activities?
So the activities on scaling are based on a true belief in the potential of NK cells and especially our product. So also making it different from other NK cell products. There is promising data from the current clinical trial, clinical responses where we cannot provide information, but it really makes us think that we should move that into something that is bigger than a current clinical trial. There is a previous academic clinical trial performed in Nijmegen also with very promising results. So the likelihood of being successful seems to be high, and then the need for clinical products will go to indeed hundreds first and then thousands later if we can make all of the clinical promises true what the product should have. So it's mainly being convinced that this makes sense for patients.
Absolutely. And you mentioned there some of the factors that differentiate your cell therapy platform and making yourself stand out. Could you go further into that? What are some of the additional factors that do differentiate your cell therapy platform?
So Oncourt is different in being an allogenic off-the-shelf product, and especially the option to have it cryopreserved is something that was considered to be the holy grail for NK cells until very recently. So many stating NK cells cannot be frozen, thawed, and still remain functionality. Oncourt has that feature. So the cells can be cryopreserved. So the product can be on stock and can be delivered when it is needed. And that makes it really unique.
Fantastic. And the field is currently inundated with different cell and gene therapeutic strategies. Do you consider NK cell therapies to still be in the shadow of CAR T and T cells? And what do you think is required for NK cell therapies to reach their potential in this field?
Yes, I think they are still in the shadow. CAR T cells, with all of their great clinical response rates, have really gained attention and also attracted investments into the field that then also made that field moving faster. I think NK cells, they do not have deserved to be in the shadow of CAR T cells. So they're mainly one step further into making cell therapies available for many patients. Being an off-the-shelf product, and that is also what is needed. So moving from autologous therapies to allogenic, especially off-the-shelf, and also having a product where you do not require to do patient-specific manufacturing, but have the product made off-the-shelf with multiple patients per batch.
Fantastic. So it's an exciting future there for NK cell therapies. In October this year, Volker, you'll be speaking at our 7th annual Cell and Gene Therapy Manufacturing Conference. We're very much looking forward to your presentation. Tell us, what are you most excited about the event?
I'm excited about learning from others presenting excited achievements in cell therapies, also providing opportunities for others to learn on how we progressed in our program. Hopefully seeing real people again after a long time where online meetings only were possible. I think that is still to be decided on how that can be made happen. And then the exchange, the network is really important to make cell therapies happen because you have to combine so many different areas of expertise and require the contact to the experts in the field to move forward efficiently.
Absolutely. And the conference does feature the co-located programs of the cell culture and bioprocessing and advanced therapy development areas. So what do you see as the benefits to having people working across these areas in the same room to discuss different challenges and solutions?
Cell culture is one of the important steps in making cell therapies, manufacturing cell therapies. So there's quite some synergies in technologies, in equipment, in disposables where you can learn, and also in the needs for process development, analytical development, and finally process validation. So very good overlap, very good synergies, and looking forward to seeing that happening.
Great, thank you for that. And my final question is, why is it so important to continue to hold scientific conferences during the current pandemic?
It's important to keep up the networking activities that are required, the exchange of experience, finding solutions, helping others to progress in the field. So finally, to really make cell therapies happen, conferences are required.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Volker, and thank you for joining me today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and we very much look forward to your presentation at the Cell and Gene Therapy Manufacturing Conference this October. So thank you so much for your time.